Tigers beat Purdue Fort Wayne 10-1, but a game defined by missed opportunities. We'll explain. It's Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. LSU beats Purdue Fort Wayne 10-1 to move to 2-0 on the season. Tigers actually had a shot at a run rule. If you're not familiar, the 10-run rule is in place when both coaches before the game agree to it. And you see that pretty commonly in the pre-conference and midweek because sometimes you don't want games to drag on, especially games that might be one-sided. On Saturday, LSU and Purdue Fort Wayne was moved up to an 11 a.m. first pitch because of the threat of weather in Baton Rouge. So obviously the run rule was in play because they wanted to get the game in, if at all possible to do so. And Tigers had their opportunities to make that stick, but in the end, they played 9, 8.5. And Tigers didn't bat in the bottom of the ninth. And LSU wins 10-1 over Purdue Fort Wayne to move to a perfect 2-0 on the season. I do want to talk about some of the changes we saw in the lineup, why I thought that was significant. What we saw from the pitchers, we'll get through that. But as we mentioned, sort of the missed opportunities. Let's go to the first inning, as Anthony Ianson made quick work of Purdue Fort Wayne in the first inning. But the Tigers actually built a rally in the first, and it looked like we might have a similar situation to Friday night. Stanfield flew out to start the game, but then Derek Curiel worked a walk batting in the 2-hole. Well, Bear Jones is up. He gets a 3-0 count. So runner on first, Bear Jones is up, 3-0 count. Do you give Bear the green light here? Well, Derek Curiel steals, attempts to steal, and gets pegged at second base. Well, Bear Jones now with 2 out and nobody on ends up working a full count walk. And then Danny Dickinson came up, and he has been certainly one of, if not the biggest offensive star so far of the early season. And Dickinson muscles a home run over the left field wall, barely cleared the fence, but it was a jam shot on the inside, showed his power to be able to get it out. And the Tigers led 2-0, and probably should have been 3-0 had Curiel not been caught stealing, if you just been patient, stayed at first. But again, understand what it is. But with Jones at the plate, do you really want to push the issue? Anyway, the Tigers missed a run scoring opportunity there, but they led 2-0. Then you go to the bottom of the second inning. Actually, in the second inning, great job by Ianson to get through the second, where he had 2 on with nobody out. Purdue Fort Wayne attempted a sac bunt. If you're an everydayer, you know my feeling on sacrifice bunts. I am not ever in favor of a sacrifice. I'm okay bunting for a hit or to score a run. I'm never okay sacrificing to advance a runner. So Purdue Fort Wayne sacrifice bunt, second and third, 1 out, strikeout, pop out, and just like that, Purdue Fort Wayne's out of the inning. LSU had an opportunity to blow it open here in the bottom of the second, up 2-0. Pearson walked. Braswell was hit by a pitch. You got 2 on, nobody out. Milam flies out, and Pearson goes the third. Then Aaron Beatty's hit by a pitch. The bases loaded and 1 out. Bases loaded, 1 out for Chris Stanfield as you turn the lineup over, and Stanfield rolls over one to second base. He grounds into the double play, and just like that, you're out of the inning. So first and second inning, you have a major opportunity there to blow this game open, and you missed it. And from that point on, Purdue Fort Wayne starting pitcher, a big lefty, soft throwing lefty, settled into a groove, and he threw up 3 consecutive zeros in the second, the third, and the fourth before the Tigers would break through in the fifth. Now, we'll get back to LSU's. Well, actually, let me stay here with the offense. Then I'll talk about the day that Anthony Ianson had on the bump. So the Tigers built a 2-out rally in the fifth, and this is where they blew the game open. Milam fouls out. Aaron Beatty flies out. So very quickly, 2 outs. Then Chris Stanfield comes up, and he chops one, a slow roller towards short, and he beats the throw at first. So great effort, hustle out the box. He gets to first. So runner on first, 2 outs. And this was so significant. Derek Curiel comes up and he homers. And then Bear Jones comes up and homers off the scoreboard. You go back to back. I think this is so significant because one of the things we've talked about pretty consistently here in the preseason about this LSU team is who is going to provide protection for Bear Jones in the lineup. Jones is a 300 hitter during his time at LSU. He hit 28 bombs last year. He's a preseason All-American. Every single team that faces LSU knows they are not going to let Bear Jones beat them. In this game in particular, Bear Jones walked 2 more times in this game. He was 1 for 2 in the ball game, but the one was the homer when they actually pitched to him. When he came back around the next time, they walked him on 4 pitches. Jones isn't going to get many opportunities. So the guys around him have to make opponents pay for pitching around Bear Jones. And so Derek Curiel in the 2-hole and Danny Dickinson in the 4-hole, both homering today, sandwiching Bear Jones, is massive because what it's telling opponents is, okay, you want to pitch around Bear Jones, fine, but we got other guys that can beat you. And so far, Dickinson has been incredible in this game. Dickinson, another 2 hits. He was 2 for 3 with the homer that we mentioned. He was also hit by a pitch in this ball game. So Dickinson is living up to the billing of a guy that was the top or one of the top position players in the transfer portal this year. So that was really significant. Not only Curiel and Jones going back to back, but the fact that Curiel and Dickinson sandwiching Jones, both homered, you're showing you have protection for Jones in this lineup. Anthony Ianson made his debut for LSU, and it was very similar, quite honestly, to what we saw a day ago from Cade Anderson. Anderson went 5 innings with 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, no runs on 4 hits. Ianson went 5 innings, struck out 6, didn't walk anybody, allowed 1 run on 4 hits. So another really strong performance by Ianson, following up Cade Anderson's performance. But I think, there were a couple of instances, like I mentioned, in the 2nd inning where he worked out of a jam, out of a 1st and 2nd nobody out jam after the bunt, then went strikeout, fly out. It was really a pop out to short, to Milam, to get out of the inning. But what we saw in the 5 innings that Ianson pitched, 4 of the 5 innings, he ended those innings with a strikeout. For example, in the 4th, Purdue Fort Wayne got a leadoff double in the 4th, then went fly out, ground out. They scored their lone run on a wild pitch, but then Ianson came back and got a strikeout to get out of the inning. So time and again, we saw Ianson, when he found himself in trouble, worked out of trouble. The final inning he threw was the 5th. They were up and down in order, fly out, strikeout. So a really strong debut for Ianson, who topped out at 96 miles an hour, showed great command. Again, did not walk a hitter. So very encouraging so far from Anderson and Ianson in the first 2 games. And we'll get to see Chase Shores in game 3, which we'll talk about here in just a smidge. The bullpen in game 1 was very, very impressive. LSU's entire staff struck out 17 in the opener. That's the most since the 1970s that LSU struck out in a season opener. After Ianson, we saw 3 pitchers follow. Connor Benj, the Dallas Baptist transfer, a DJ Primo, who's in his 3rd season with the program now from Central, and then Maverick Rizzi pitched the 9th, and boy, he was impressive. 3 up, 3 down, and with 2 strikeouts to end the game. Benj, the Dallas Baptist transfer, was impressive because he was pumping mid-90s. And for a smaller pitcher, a guy who started his career at LSU Eunice, went to Dallas Baptist, now at LSU. Benj went an inning and 2/3. He faced 6 batters. He struck out 3 of the 6 he faced. He had 2 flyouts. The only runner that reached base against Benj was a walk. Primo came in, got the final out. It was a lefty-lefty matchup that Jay Johnson wanted situationally. Got the final out of the 7th. Primo pitched the 8th. He struck out 3 of the 4 batters he faced. He allowed 1 hit. And then Rizzi, as we mentioned, came in and pitched the ninth. So, we're looking at this pitching staff, and we still haven't even seen Chase Shores or William Schmidt or Zach Cohen or some of the guys, Connor Ware, some of the guys that we're really have talked so much about here in the preseason leading up to this season. We haven't even seen them yet through 2 games, but I would imagine we're going to see those guys and really empty the bench again on Sunday in Game 3. I do want to talk about what I thought was significant because there was a pretty notable lineup change in Game 2. I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about a quick thumbnail preview for Game 3. We'll do that when we continue Locked on LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel. The live betting feature is awesome. I use it all the time, nearly every day in basketball because you'll always get great value. Let's say the line is 2 and you feel some kind of way. You wait through the first 3-5 minutes of a game. Who knows, maybe even at halftime, you see that line move. Sometimes you can get great value. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So I mentioned there were some notable lineup changes here in Game 2 with LSU and Purdue Fort Wayne. There are 2 spots in particular that in the everyday lineup seemingly that are still up for grabs, catcher and right field. And we saw all 3 catchers in action in Game 1. It was Luis Hernandez who got the start, the Indiana State transfer. And then in order, Cade Arambidi replaced him, and then we saw Blaze Priester. So my contention is over the 3 games, we were going to see each of the 3 get a start. And so far, that has held the form. Luis Hernandez got the start in Game 1. Cade Arambidi got the start behind the plate in Game 2. He was replaced late in the game by Blaze Priester, and my guess is we're going to see Priester in Game 3, catching Chase Shores with an opportunity to be the starter and see how that all goes. So Arambidi starting behind the dish was one notable change. And then Josh Pearson going to right in place of Jake Brown, and then Ethan Fry DHing. Listen, it's very obvious right now. This is a team, by Jay Johnson's own admission, that they probably feel like they have 12 guys that could be in the everyday lineup. Maybe more than that. I might even argue more than that. But you got to get all these guys opportunities. And, the way I think former Tiger great Jared Mitchell said it to me on my radio show on Wednesday. He said, you're going to want to have some guys ticked off. You're going to want to have good players that are upset that they're not playing, because that means you have good players on the bench that have been beaten out by even better players or players that are just playing better. And that's kind of where LSU is right now. I mean, Ashton Larson got a pinch hit knock. I mean, that was one of your most consistent hitters a year ago. He was freshman All-America. And Larson so far has only gotten in the game through the first 2 games as a pinch hitter. Now, I think Larson probably starts Game 3 in right field. So we saw Jake Brown start Game 1, Josh Pearson start Game 2. My guess is we see Jake Brown Ashton Larson start Game 3. Behind the dish, we saw Hernandez start Game 1, Arambidi start Game 2. My guess is, again, this is a guess, that we'll see Priester start Game 3. Jay Johnson knows where the opportunities are. Look, Chris Stanfield clearly is a great defensive center fielder for you and is hitting at the top of your lineup. Derek Curiel's playing in left, and he gives you great range, and so far offensively, he's been pretty good. The left side of the infield defensively, Milam at short, Braswell at third has been flawless, and Dickinson can play second. We know Bear Jones is playing first. So really there's 2 spots in the lineup. It's right field and catcher, with you're looking to establish who is going to be your everyday guy. And then what do you do at DH? Is it a situation where someone has a hot bat, but it's an opportunity to get a glove in the field and a bat in the lineup? All that's going to develop as it moves along. I think that was the opportunity for Ethan Fry on Saturday, was to say, okay, you're not going to play in the field, but go swing the stick and let's see how it goes. For Fry, he was 1 for 3 on the game. Put the ball in play. Certainly good to see. So that's going to be something to watch every game, is how Jay Johnson continues to manipulate the lineup. It's also worth noting, while in game 1 we saw, Braswell Milam 8-9, it may be a situation like in game 2 we saw Milam Braswell 8-9. We saw Aaron Beatty go to the 9 hole. You went Braswell 7, Milam 8, Aaron Beatty 9, 7-8-9 with Braswell, Milam, Aaron Beatty, which is incredible talent to think of it that way. So how they piece it together will be interesting, but more than anything, I think right now this is Jay Johnson looking at a whole bunch of dudes that deserve, like, young guys and new guys he wants to see, and then experienced guys who deserve playing time, like Ashton Larson and Josh Pearson. So balancing all that really is the challenge right now for Jay Johnson, and getting all these guys as many opportunities as he can. Now, game 3, the other obviously gigantic part of game 3 is going to be the return of Chase Shores. Chase Shores is 6'8", 245. He throws 100, and we haven't seen Chase Shores in nearly 2 years. Of course, he blew out, had the Tommy John surgery, missed all of last year. Word is he would have pitched if LSU had advanced to the Super Regional a year ago, but Tigers blew a late lead against North Carolina in the regional final, didn't advance. And so now Sunday will be our first opportunity to see Chase Shores, since he pitched for the Tigers early in that championship season 2 years ago. So Chase Shores, who had a 1.96 ERA with 15 strikeouts in 18 1/3 innings pitched 2 seasons ago. We'll see his first action. Tigers will face Gavin Walters, a transfer from Lansing Community College, a righty from Purdue Fort Wayne, in game 3. But this is going to be a game where it's, let's see how much they extend Chase Shores, right, coming off the Tommy John. Let's see which pitchers we see out of the bullpen. We haven't seen William Schmidt. We haven't seen Connor Ware. We haven't seen Gavin Guidry yet. So Jay has got to get a lot of guys work in this third game. And then what lineup changes do we see? My guess, just a prediction, we'll see if I'm right, is Ashton Larson will get the start in right. And I think we'll see Blaze Priester get the start behind the dish, as you've seen a pretty even rotation there among those two positions with the guys that are vying for those jobs. So we'll see how they do. In the meantime, Tigers moved to 2-0. They beat Purdue Fort Wayne 10-1 in game 2. Hey, let me know your thoughts on LSU's season opening 2-0 start. Leave them in the comments below. And if you like this sort of content, I want your feedback. I'm happy to do these post-game recap shows if you're here for them. So please leave your comments. Hit me up on social, Twitter, @Matt Moscona, and let me know if you're here for it. In the meantime, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day, and sometimes multiple times a day, for Locked On LSU, your team every day.